Hello everyone, it's another day on Explore Africa. If you are new to this channel, please hit the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to hit the bell to get any notification on any new video I upload. Today's video is to reveal the top 10 African countries with the highest GDP. Before we look into it, let us understand some facts about African growing GDP. According to the World Bank, Africa's economic outlook has stabilized and is expected to increase despite remaining below historical highs. The total real GDP growth of 3.4% in 2019 is forecast to increase to 3.9% in 2020 and to 4.1% in 2021, leading the way are six economies among the world's 10 fastest growing economies. That includes Ethiopia, Rwanda, Tanzania, Cote d'Ivoire, Benin, and Ghana. Economic growth in Africa varies significantly across countries and across regions, with the diversity extending beyond culture, trade, to factors such as historical development, international relations, and important resources. The continent's fastest growing region is East Africa, with an average growth of 5% in 2019. The second fastest region is North Africa, having a growth rate of 4.1% in 2019 and making the largest contribution to Africa's overall GDP growth. In the middle is West Africa with 3.7 growth rate and Central Africa with 3.2 growth rate. Trailing at the back is the South Africa country region, with growth slowed with 1.2% in 2018 to 0.7% in 2019. Now let's begin with the top 10 richest country in Africa. Running up the list of the top 10 richest African countries is Tanzania, with a GDP of $62 billion over the last year. Known as the home of some of the continent's most famous national parks, and of course, Mount Kilimanjaro. The country comprises a lower middle mixed income economy. The country's economy is largely based on agriculture, contributing almost 25% to the GDP and employing half of the workforce. Industries are growing component of the economy, which account for almost 30% of the GDP and includes mining, manufacturing, construction, electricity, natural gas, and water supply. The main exports include gold, coffee, cashew nut, and cotton. Ghana, found in West Africa, has an economy that is both diverse and rich in resources. With a GDP of $67 billion, it just makes this list of wealthiest countries on the African continent, coming it at number 9. The country was the first in sub-Saharan Africa to break free from the colonial rule, as well as the first to achieve the target of halving extreme poverty. The nation has attracted foreign investment due to its overall positive business environment, experienced economic growth of just over 6% in the last 2 years. Services contribute to around 50% of the Ghanaian GDP and employ almost 30% of the workforce. Industry is the next biggest contributor to the GDP at just under 25%, followed by agriculture. Ghana has an abundance of natural resources, helping to fuel an economic boom. Gold is the country's main export. This is followed by petroleum. Together, they make up 50% of the country's foreign exchange. Other major exports include cocoa beans, timber, and gold. Found in the Horn of Africa, the landlocked country of Ethiopia, split by the Great Rift Valley, is the 8th richest country in Africa, with the archaeological finds dating back over 3 million years. This ancient land is famous for being the place where coffee beans first originated. The nation is the highest coffee and honey producer in Africa, making up a large portion of the country's foreign exchange. Other than exports includes oily seeds and cut flowers. The GDP of $91 billion comprises agriculture, construction, manufacturing, tourism, food processing, resources, and energy. The country of Angola has one of the biggest reserves of raw materials in Africa. Essentially, it could be higher up on this list of Africa's richest nations. However, due to the resource mismanagement and internal corruption, the economy of the country has been negatively affected. With a GDP of over 90 billion, it comes in at number 7 on this list. Angola's economy is built on oil, with a large reserve of natural gas and oil, making up over one-third of its GDP. The production and export of crude oil contributes significantly to the foreign exchange. In fact, 90% of the country's reserve in export sector comes from the sale of crude oil. Kenya, a country in East Africa, well known for its vast landscape and wildlife, is next on Africa's richest country list, having a GDP of almost 100 billion. The nation, with its stable living condition, an established coffee and tea sector, and rapid growing agriculture sector, is the wealthiest in Southeast and Central Africa. Historically, its coastline has been the home to a number of strategic ports for Asian and Arabian traders for centuries, becoming a trade hub for the region. The Kenyan economy is not built around oil sector like so many other countries on this list, but still experiences diverse positive growth. The Kenyan nation has emerged as one of the fastest growing economies in sub-Saharan Africa. With a GDP of almost 120 billion, Morocco comes in at number 5 on this list of richest countries in Africa. The economy of this country in North Africa is versatile, stable, experienced growth in a number of industries over the last decade. It is the second richest non-oil producing African country. The country economy is driven by mining and manufacturing. 30% Morocco's GDP comes from industry, 15% from agriculture, and 55% from service. This is supplemented by a growing tourism sector, with locals being welcoming of tourists and the government placing a strong emphasis on attracting visitors to the country. The largest country on the continent, found in the north, Algeria, comes in at 4th place on this list of wealthiest countries in Africa, boasting a significant economy and available infrastructure and GDP of over $170 billion. The country achieved a notable achievement of reducing poverty by 20% within the last 20 years. Crude oil reserves are abundant in this developing sub-Saharan country, and the economy is heavily reliant on it. So much so that hydrocarbons makes up almost 70% of the income of the country. The recent discovery of more crude oil reserves have boosted this rapid growing industry. Other sectors that make up Algerian economy include agriculture, industrial work, commercial service, and construction. The country is also one of the largest suppliers of ammonia in Africa. This ancient land in the northern Africa held the spot of the richest country in Africa for so many years. However, the economy suffered severely and the foreign exchange reserve tumbled following the 2011 revolution during the Arab Spring. With the most recent GDP of over 300 billion, Egypt now holds the third spot on this rich list. The economic activity has improved and stabilized over the last decades to experience positive economic growth. The government recently concluded an economic reform program alongside the IMF aiming to reform and boost the economy. Real GDP growth reached 5.6% in 2019. This southern side country in Africa is another significant player on the continent as the second richest African country. With a highly developed economy, advanced infrastructure, and a GDP of over 350 billion, the country is considered one of the richest and the fastest developing country in the world. Often referred as the Rainbow Nation, South Africa is one of the only countries on this list that is not reliant on a single source of revenue. The country has a good mix of mining infrastructure, financial service, and tourism. It is almost abundant in natural resources and raw materials export, the likes of gold, diamond, platinum, coal, and iron. It is one of the world's largest exporters of this commodity, particularly gold and platinum. The country is the world renowned as a major tourist destination and places a lot of emphasis on tourism as part of its economy. However, political and global turmoil have hindered its ability to meet its potential. The country was faced with recession after experiencing consecutive quarters of negative GDP growing rate, and the development has slowed. This West African country, with a population of over 200 million citizens, makes up an essential part of the African economy. With a GDP of just under $450 billion, Nigeria holds the position of richest country in Africa. The sizable GDP is made driven by the finance, transport, infrastructure, tourism, and abundance of crude oil. The country records around 1.6 million barrels of crude oil daily, according to OPEC, making it the largest exporter of crude oil in Africa. These petroleum exports making up 10% of the total GDP and make an over 80% of the export sector revenue. In addition to petroleum, Nigeria has abundance of raw materials and natural resources. There you go guys, those are the list of the richest country in Africa. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel for more videos. Thank you for watching.